So, as I was saying, welcome. Thank you so much for joining this morning. Today we're talking about the budget and finances and all this fun number stuff. And hopefully we made it as fun as possible, at least as interactive and interesting and easy as it can be. We're gonna give you first an introduction about the ground levels and the top ups about how everything works. In terms of the finances, we're going to talk about the eligible costs, and I will show you also the budget template. And then we thought of doing an interactive example. So hopefully this is going to be a way to also jump into your questions. So we created let's say an imaginary application, an imaginary project, and we will try to see how it will be like to build a budget for this project, where things goes. And we hope this is going to help you indeed to understand better how to fill up the template. And so we're going to start the question as we do the exercise, but of course at the end we're also going to have questions for any specific question that is not fitting that purpose. You can always put question in the chat. Yes, we're going to publish the recording, and perhaps we can even share the slides. Let's see if we can make that happen. But I will jump directly into it. I will give you an introduction. I'm pretty sure you all know what Perform Europe is, but just to contextualize, so we are a forward-looking funding scheme that supports inclusive, diverse, and environmentally sustainable cross-border touring in the performing arts across the 41 Creative Europe countries. This is the third edition of Perform Europe. We did third open call that was open on the 23rd of June, and it's gonna stay open until the 22nd of October. So you have in total around 4 months to create your projects and apply. In total, this edition is gonna grant 1.4 million to a minimum of 25 proposals. And the big hit also of Perform Europe is that we're looking for new ideas. We're looking for new ways of touring performing arts in a way that respects our priorities, which is inclusion and diversity and fight against the climate change. So this is the premises. Here you can see the index of the open call that we hope you're already starting having a look. If not, I recommend you to check it out. And today we're going to focus on the section that it's titled, What Can the Grant Cover? So we're really talking about that. To start, so the funding, I was telling you before that we have 1.4 millions to grant in what it's called technically cascading grants to the sector. And there are 3 grant categories that corresponds to small, medium, and large grant. We have 50,000 euros, 25,000 euros, and 55,000 euros. The 5% of the total budget, so the 1.4 million, will be dedicated toward project involving Ukraine, which means Ukrainian partners activity happening in Ukraine. And there are 2 very important disclaimers. The first is that Perform Europe does not support the creation of new work. So Perform Europe support the touring and distribution of work that already exists and already finished. And each work needs to be ready to tour before the 1st of March of 2027. And secondly, that the grant can cover 100% of your project expenses. So there is no need to have any sort of co-financing bodies or co-financing resources. We're getting a lot of questions about how to choose the grant category. Is there a different way the project are going to get evaluated according to the categories? And the answer is no. It's really you that have to choose the grant category according to the scale of your project, how the budget look like, but we're not going to differentiate between the small, medium, and large at the evaluation stage. The big news of this year is that we are introducing top-ups. So on top of the grant categories that we spoke about earlier, each partnership can request a combination of the different available top-up that we're going to talk about now for a maximum of 5,000 euros per proposal. This means that the maximum that you can apply for is 60,000 euros. And this is something that it's decided by the European Union, so we cannot really do much with it. It's a rule that we have to go through to make this project happen. So we have 6 different types of top-ups, and I'll briefly take you through it. So we have the green mobility, which is 400 euros per person per presentation day. So how this works is that you get this top up, and it doesn't really correspond to the expenses that you're having. Again, it's a top up, so it's something on top of your budget that helps you to make that activity. So if you're having 2 people, let's say, traveling by train for 2 dates, it will be 400 euros per two people, per 2 presentation dates. So it's the request that you can have. And they all work in a similar way. So the accessibility support works very similarly. It's for anyone that is traveling and touring with you that is in need of accessibility support, accessible travel, accessible hotel room, transport, and so on. Family, it's for anybody that has a child and childcare responsibility. So we offer 200 euros per child per presentation date. So for different step of the touring. Then we have the overseas countries and territories. So if you're traveling to one of those, you can request a top up of 175 euros per person. Visa, also if anybody part of the project needs to apply for a visa, you can request a top up of 120 euros. And then finally, we have the audience access. So this goes beyond the project in itself and the people working in it. So if you're doing any measure that improve the accessibility of the work that you're presenting, you can request 800 euros per presentation date. This is how it's worked, and then we're going to look at it better when we see the application template, the budget template. In terms of what the grant can include, this is a list just very briefly, and it's absolutely a non-exhaustive list. And again, we're going to see it better when we look at the budget template. But some example of what the funding can cover, and these grants and top up, is staff costs, of course, travel, accommodation, subsistence, any fee from artistic fees and salaries, transport of equipment, any cost for organizing complementary activities, such as workshop, masterclass, and so on. We can also cover production costs in the sense that if you have to pay for the venue or rent equipment and so on, so for the presentation in itself. And then we're able to cover also preparation costs. As I said before, we only support works that are ready to tour, but we do understand that it might be a level of preparation for like works or concept that needs a level of adaptation to each location. And this can be up to 10% of the requested per from your grant, any activities in this sense. We're going to do an example later. And then also importantly, we have a section for capacity building costs. So you must dedicate at least 1.5% of the grant to activities that are capacity building for the whole partnership. So it's something that it's not thinking exclusively to the audience, but it's really about you in the partnership working together because maybe you want to delve into specific topics or you need the specific skills for doing the project, and this is improve the partnership. And then we have specific accessibility costs, greening costs, and of course also communications. And now we get into the budget, the template in itself. So this is a different budget template than last time. We try to make it easier for you to use. I will share my screen, but before I do so, I just want to tell you that it's divided into 3 sections. There is a summary, which is an overview that you can check as you're filling up the other pages. This is a not editable page and it really helps you to check that your budget respects the eligibility criteria. Then we have a page called expenses, when you can put all your costs divided into different categories. And then we have the income, where you can select your grant level, you can request for top up, and also include any other income that you're having for the realization of that project. 2 very important disclaimer: it must be filled up in euros. If it's not done in euros, the budget is not eligible and your application will be discarded. And it contains directly some locked formula and cell to help you, as well as alarm and little messages and so on, to respect the eligibility criteria. So make sure to fill up only what you have to. Don't get scared if something is automatic. It's supposed to be like that. But yeah, maybe I will show you directly. Let's see. Yeah, this is the template. So it also includes a first page, which is just instructions that hopefully is gonna help you to basically what I'm telling you now. This is the summary page. As you will see, if I try to edit something, it will tell me that I'm not, that I cannot do it. In this page, you just need to fill in your proposals as well as the name of the lead partner. And then, yes, we do have the expenses section, as you see, is divided in different sections. It's basically the section that I was telling you about before when I was talking about the eligible costs. And there's also here some little notes that can help you guide what actually this cost means with some examples. I want to highlight that in some parts, we have these cells, which is asking you if that cost is fully or partially covered by a top-up. And when you click on it, you have a drop-down. And I want to highlight that we don't really want to match the cost with a top-up request. This is just for us to have an indication of how you're going to use your top-ups. So even if it's just partially, we just would like to know how this is going to look like for you and why you're requesting some top-ups. So you can put it here. And then in two sections, which is the section of the preparation costs, you have this little icon, as well as here in the capacity building. This helps you to make sure that it's respecting the eligibility, so that this is like 10% of your grant, and this is at least 1.5% of your grant too. And then when we go in the income section, you see that the first thing we ask you to do is to select here again by a drop-down. We know that these drop-down in Excel are not very accessible, but we tried everything and there is no other way. So you can select your level here. And here you have the top-up request. So the unit part is not editable. So this helps you. You don't have to remember the units. And here you have to fill in the number of people, the number of presentation dates. In some cases, it's just the presentation dates or just the people. So yeah, and here you can also put a short motivation about how you're going to use that top up. You can refer to lines in the expenses. This is really free and up to you to decide and to explain us in the best way possible. And then the last section, it's about other income that you might have. It could be your own income. It could be ticketing that you're foreseeing if you have ticketing, or it could be another like national or funding bodies. And we ask you to put it here and to put a little bit more info in the box below, specific if fundraising is still ongoing. And while you fill in all this, I come back to the summary because I want to show you that here you have a results cell. So here you can see live what's the difference between the expenses and the income. So this might help you to do the calculations. And these are eligibility checks. So if this turns to be no, it means there is something wrong. So you can, and it's explain what you can check to make sure that you have all yeses. And then this last cell, it's checking specifically if you have co-financing. So if the percentage that is covered by the per year grant, top up and actual grant, is lower than 80% of your full budget, we ask you to provide a commitment letter. And I will now go back to the slides if I can find them. Let's see. I think they have disappeared. Give me 1 second. I'm coming back. This is when you share multiple screens.
Sorry, can I ask one question?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, sorry, I came late. You must provide a
Yeah,
commitment
well, wait.
letter
Yeah,
signed
yeah,
by
I
all
can
partners to
multitask.
guarantee the availability.
Mhm.
Does it mean they have to
Yeah,
commit to making the project possible, or do they have to commit to contributing financially?
I will, I'm getting there. I
Okay,
will show
sorry.
you what this means.
Great.
Yeah, no worries. But indeed, it's a good question, and thank you for highlighting that. So this letter, basically, it's a sort of risk analysis that we're asking you to do. So it's not a commitment in the sense that, as you said, we involve all partners in the finances of this. In this letter, we're asking you, first of all, how much and what's the percentage of the total budget that you have in co-financing? And we want to know if this co-financing is confirmed or not. Let's say you have funding from your municipality, let's say. And maybe this is already confirmed. If it's already confirmed, you just need to say, yes, it's all confirmed and secured. And we just need all partners to sign so that all partners are available. Yeah, they know that this is the case. And we also sure on our side that you can make the project with this co-financing that it's secured. If fundraising is still ongoing, so let's say you're applying for Perform Europe at the same time as a national funding, and the result of the national funding will come later on, so maybe after the selection of Perform Europe, we ask you to make a little bit of a risk analysis, which basically means tell us what is the risk of not securing this funding, and in case you're not going to get it, how are you going to adjust your project accordingly to not receiving the funding? So we just want to understand if you will be able to still do the same project that you applied for, even if this funding at the end doesn't arrive. And again, it must be signed by all partners so that we know on our side that all the partners know about the situation and then you thought together about any measures for readjusting the project if needed. I hope I answered you, but wait.
Yes, almost.
Yes, perfect.
Just
Good.
one more small thing.
Yes.
So is it, are we obliged to apply for other funding? Because, for example, the local funding we could apply to, it's in Sachsen-Anhalt, there will most probably like a right-wing government, extreme right-wing government
Mhm.
by the time of the
No,
Perform Europe call. So
no,
it would
no.
be like only proving that we're not going to get it, but so we, yeah.
But you're not required to.
Okay, we're not required.
As I said at the beginning,
Yeah,
the grant can cover 100% of your grant. But by experience, we know that many projects apply
yeah. Okay.
they're also coming with other income attached to that, say the 60,000 euros. And this comes from a situation happening in the past. We see that then those fundings is not being secured and then the project changes.
Yeah.
So this is basically it. But if this is only if you have a co-financing that it's higher than 20%. If you don't, this letter, you don't have to attach it.
Okay, great. Thank
Right?
you.
Good. Then moving on, I think this is the information that we wanted to give you. And so we thought about doing an interacting exercise together. So hopefully this is not just going to be me talking. I will present you this, yeah, fake application that we have done. Oop. Oh my God. Yes, too many screens. And we want to say that any resemblance to actual fact, events, or person living or dead is absolutely coincidental. We made this up. So even the name of the partner is absolutely a product of our mind. So we hope there is not going to be any coincidence with things existing. So yeah, I'm going to read you this project that we thought of. And then we're going to tell you some specific costs that we need to put into the budget, which will be half done, and we will like do it together, meaning me putting into the budget and answering questions from you because we hope this can clarify some doubts that you have. So this project is called Speakeasy Under the Cobblestone. It's an ensemble of mixed ability dancer and actor involving physical and mental disability and neurodivergencies. It's a theater performance in public space, exploring different forms of movement and communication, emphasis on the way humans perceive public space and transmit information. So the audience is invited to come closer and engage with the performer as they move. So it's like very interactive. In each location, the team will have some preparation day with local disabled artists who will take part in the performance. So we also have this concept a little bit of showing without going. So performers join in every location. And so they will influence how the play is adapted to each space. Since the play relies mainly on the performers and the public space, the scenography and equipment is very minimal and is transported into extra suitcase. There will be workshop for audiences with and without disabilities and one after talk. Again, this is just to have a little bit of a context. The partners are four, two from Germany. So we have a company from Germany with the theater ensemble, a festival from Germany, another festival in Greece, and another festival in Sweden who's the lead partner. So it's the one who is applying. And then I have highlighted before we get into the budget, some costs related to the priorities that we will keep in mind and now put into the budget. So two performers and limited mobility and need personal assistance. So this is, of course, something to put into the budget. We need accessible rooms and transportation for those two performers. We want to have translation of the play into local languages. We need intercultural mediators to facilitate the dialogue between the performance and the audience. We need one sign language translator, and we, of course, want to pay a local disabled artist and for the preparation work that is required. This being said, we can go directly. Yes, here. So as you see, this is half filled, and this is the idea together. So you can see here that we have a result which is not zero. So means that the budget is not balanced. So we have to do something to make this a yes. The top-up request, I haven't filled it up yet. So we will do it together. We also need to fill up the training cost, capacity building cost, sorry. And the preparation cost, we will also do it together. And here the percentage, we still need to finish everything. So we will look at it later to see if, yeah, everything is working well. And here, as you see, these again are not editable and it's just a transportation of what we're doing on the other pages. So, and one very important thing, this is only for exercise purposes. Please don't take as an example any costs that we have here. These are absolutely factual in terms of wages and how much people needs to be paid. This is absolutely factual and it's just for yeah, purposes of doing this together. So I will go through it, but I please ask you to jump in. Now I can see you, yes. So just raise your hand or put a question in the chat and my colleague will help me with like reading it out loud. So yeah, so if we start, already put the personnel cost. We're traveling via flight for this type of work. And then we need some accessible public transport. So which means some taxis in each of the cities. So I'm going to put it here because even public transport, it's included. So let's say in the three cities. Yes. And very factual, we're saying like just a number, and we will need, let's say, one in each city. And as you see, these formulas are already here. You don't need to create them. It's also important that if you're creating a new row, to put it in between instead of at the end, because the sum here, these are not editable. So this will help you to make sure that it's filled. I see two hands. I don't know what's there first, but I see Eva as the first.
Yes, hi everyone.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Yes.
Hello from Croatia.
Hello.
Yes, I had some questions about the base of how do we calculate personnel costs?
This is up to you.
Huh?
Like this depends on your project. This depends on where the project is, your calculation, and we don't really make any suggestions on that because we think it's very project specific. We do ask you to respect the principle of fairness, that yes, but what fairness looks like in your project that involve different type of partnership, it's really up to you, and then to you to explain to us why you think the allocation you've done respect these fairness principles.
Okay, I mean, because there are different types of
Mhm.
personnel costs, right? There's like
Mhm.
the management, but there's also
Yeah.
like a local costs of
Mhm.
productions and then
Mhm.
all the people involved in
Mhm.
preparing the project. So fairly, even though there are different
Yeah.
countries, different standards, we should do it fairly.
Yeah, it's really about what we recommend is to have a conversation between you partners and understand what this principle of fairness mean to you, because I can tell you example of the past. In some cases, some partner decided to pay everybody the same in different countries, and in some other cases it was like the wages were accordingly to the law of each of the countries. This is really depending on what your partners are comfortable with, and you telling us why you made this decision.
So you're accepting that. So as
Yeah,
long as
yeah.
we elaborate it and everybody's happy, you're happy too.
Yeah. This is something you can definitely write about in the fairness section of the application. Because fairness it's included in a very broad principle. It's like it's not about remuneration, it's about solidarity, it's about opportunities. But this is something you can definitely include there and explain to us. Did
Okay,
I answer
thanks.
you?
Thank you.
All right. Then I see Ivona with her hand raised.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
I have two questions. The first one is it possible to partner with another, let's say we are a company that would like to tour, we find three
Mhm.
partners where we
Mhm.
can present the work. Is it possible that we partner with another company so there are like actually two pieces touring
Yeah, it is possible.
partners? Yeah. Okay, thank you. And the second question is, I'm not completely sure if I understood the 1.5% for the
Yes.
capacity building. Could you please give me an example once
Yes,
again? Thank
of
you.
course. I'm here for this. So I will fill it up in this budget so you can see on the technical side as well as conceptually. So we have it here. So where is it? Now I'm losing it. Yes, here. So in this case, we want the partners to organize some, let's say, let's call them training between each other about, let's say, some specific skill or some specific knowledge on specific topics that you think it's important to discuss together. It's a way to bridge and the gaps between different skills and abilities in the partnership and to strengthen the partnership. So
Okay.
let's give an example for this project that I spoke before this example. Let's say that we want to, in the partnership, we want to, in each location, have a dossier for disabled audiences. So we want to do first a training or how to develop this training, this dossier. And Perfumio can cover this cost. So I put it here, and if I first of all select the grant level, so I say that this project is 55,000, where I select, and here I can put the cost. Let's say it's 400 euros. And this is telling me that it's too low. So I either need to do another type of training, or maybe this was too low for this type of training that I'm doing. And here you see that this is now becoming green. So this is enough and respects the eligibility criteria. So this is very up to you what you want to organize. It's just to keep in mind that it needs to serve the whole partnership. It can be led by one of the partners or done by an external trainer. And it could also be open to the audience if you think that it's something that could be interest to your audiences as well.
Okay,
Did I
thank you.
answer your question? Do you have any other doubt?
Thank you. That was
All
fine.
right, great. Any other questions? There is one in the chat, I think. A couple in the chat. Okay, then I will read them. Would it be possible, if necessary, to transfer funds from one budget category to another after I receive the funding? Is there, so this first question, so this is after, it depends on how much. This is something that is going to be put into your contracts. There are some specific rules, but yes, it is possible. Sometimes it might require an amendment of the contract. I'm looking at you, Christina. I think this is what it is. So yeah, it is possible. But of course, we hope that this is going to be more or less what you're thinking of doing. Is there any unused fund left over? Do we need to return them? If I'm not mistaken, in this edition, no. Because we're now working on a lump sum basis. And again, all this information will be detailed in the contracts of the selected project 3. If we charge an administration fee for the event, who is entitled to the revenue generation from the ticket sale? Okay. This depends on you. We do advise you to put let's say the income, let's say, do we have ticketing? And this is a projection, let's say it's very low ticketing just for one location and it's like 400 euros. We ask you to put it here. But it's really up to you if you're using it to pay someone or just, it just needs to be visible in your budget. Is the funding taxable? And the answer is no, if I'm not mistaken. You can find more info about this in our FAQ page. This is the grant. It's what it is. If you need to pay taxes in your own country and on specific expenses, we ask you to include it in the budget. I hope this answered. Then I see other questions, so I'm going to read those too. Can the budget include costs related to audience engagement, mediation, or community activities alongside the performances? Yes. And there is a section here, which is, so in the fees, you have fee for organizing workshop, masterclass, anything else that it's additional to your performance. So you have this section here. And then in the production cost itself, also you have cost for organizing workshop and masterclass. So if you need to rent a venue or if you need to hire a mic, you can put it here. Then it's continuing. If the actual costs differ from the estimated budget during implementation, how much flexibility do beneficiary have to allocate funds between budget lines? And then you have the ticket sale. It's the same question as before. Again, this is going to be detailed in your contract. There is some flexibility until a certain percentage. And then if you really want to change it, we can do an amendment. So it's basically what I said before. Then 2 other questions in the chat. Is it possible to design a tour that includes a creation laboratory in each country culminating into a performance? This is a tricky question because indeed we don't support any unfinished artistic work, but if your concept is ready and includes this sort of laboratory with people in the location, yes, it is possible. And it's the case actually that you can find many examples in Perfumeer 2 that has done that. It means that let's say the logic of your workshop and then what's the result, it's already, let's say, a concept that it's designed and created, and then you apply to the different locations. So yes. Then I see that the other questions are answered. So yeah, then what I will do, I will just continue fill up this budget to give you some other example, and whenever you want, just jump in with questions. So where were we? So yes, we did some accessible public transport. Then what else? We have In the accommodation, we need to have some accessible rooms in this other location. Again, the numbers are absolutely fake. Let's say 150 per 14 days. And as you can see here, we're also saying, yes, this is a top up and part of the support. I see a question. Aline, I see your hands raised. Take it away.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I am new to all this. Hello from Romania, but I have a question. If I am eligible, if, for example, let's say I'm working at a puppetry performance now and it's finished till October.
October of this year.
Yeah.
Yes. Work needs to be ready by 1st of March 2027.
Okay. And this funding is strictly for a tour.
Yeah, only the tour.
Okay, so I really need to find some partners in Europe, or I can find it even in my country, for example.
You need to have at least 3 partners. The partnership needs to have at least 3 partners from 3 different countries in Europe.
Okay. So, for example, I can use my, let's say if I get the funding, I can use the funding money to rent a place or stuff like this. I come from a different system. This is why I ask. In my country, we don't have this kind of style.
Yeah, I do understand. This is depending also from your partners and what the partners can offer. If you get a partner that is a theater, for example, you can do your piece there. And then all the eligible costs that I was talking about. So yes, anything that it's part of making the tour, it's eligible. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me see if there are some other questions in the chat, but I think that my colleagues are answering. Maybe I can take the last 2 questions. Is there a more general question? There are common budgeting mistakes that applicants should avoid from previous calls. Yes, I mean, what we've trying to do with this new template is to make sure that you are avoiding these mistakes. And it's really about the eligibility mostly. It's really making sure it's done in euros, that all of these say yes, that the budget is balanced. I think as you might think this could be like very easy mistakes, but we had some of those cases. So really fill it up with attention. And in the sense of the, let's say, the amount itself and so on, your project will also be evaluated on how your budget is matching what you're proposing. So one thing I could say is the principle of fairness. So make sure that you're explaining in the application how are you choosing to pay each and every one involved in the project. And yeah, overall they scored how realistic it is. So I think this is the main recommendation that I can give you. So really look at all the details and make sure that everything gets filled in correctly, making sure that, I don't know, the lines that you add are inside so that each sum it's adding up. So it's more technical things. We cannot tell you much about the evaluation in itself, aside that it needs to be a realistic budget. But I hope I answered. Then there was another one. There's just so many questions.
Can I
what
also
does
ask,
yes?
Can I also ask a question directly?
Yes,
Yes. I have 2 questions.
of course.
They are not regarding the funding actually, but is it okay to ask them or not?
Yes, no worries.
One question is like if the 3 countries, I think it's very simple, but I'm just asking myself if I have like 3 partners. One is from my own country and 2 other countries. Is that also like
Yeah.
that's fine, no?
Yeah. It was exactly like the example that I showed. So if you're covering at least 3 countries, but you have more partners, it's fine.
And the other question I have is, I think, I don't know if you can answer it, but like I was reading into like diversity and inclusivity is very loose. Actually, I have the feeling, like how you define it somehow. Is there anything like, I don't know, where can you elaborate on it, or is there any information where I can, or like where I can get more information how you understand diversity and inclusivity? Because especially if it's a European project, there are very different kind of approaches towards these terms within the European
It
Union.
is
So yeah,
it is written in the open call, huh? So it's what it's written there. And it's loose on purpose in the sense
okay,
that those are very big concepts. And the general ethos of Perform Europe, I'm saying this in many different instances, is that we're not being extremely prescriptive because this is a call for new ideas.
got it.
So
Yeah.
it's always about you telling us why do you think this is fitting in the priorities.
Okay, thank you so much. I got
No
it.
worries. We have a little bit more than 15 minutes, so I'm gonna keep going with the questions in the chat, at least ones that are not answered. So I have, what does substantial refer to? Daily food for traveling group or everybody involved? It's exactly a daily allowance for the food for anybody that is traveling, I would say. Again, this is very much up to you and how you want to make the project happen. But we recommended this to be for anybody that is traveling, so needs to be outside of their homes. And yeah, have food to eat. Yes, the application form is already available. You find it on the website, but I see my colleagues were answering. I think the other question we answered.
I have one more question.
Yes, of course.
I already asked it in the chat. How do you decide on a category or an amount of funding? And the answer was basically you make your budget and then whatever suits best.
Yes, exactly.
From my experience with international touring, it's very easy to fill up budgets. So I'm still a bit lost about this, I think.
Yes, I understand, but yeah, I think it's really just about making a test. I understand that you can fill it up so
Yeah.
easily. But I think it also depends on your type of project, and specifically how many people are touring. Probably that's the biggest factor that it's impacting a budget. Because let's say if you're doing a solo or if you're doing a show without going concept and there you have
Yeah.
1 or 2 person touring, of course, it's a very different scope.
Yeah.
Depends on where you're going. So yeah, I think it's really just about making a test. But I
Yeah.
understand that for bigger production, of course, it can fill up super easily.
Okay. Makes sense. And in the past projects, it's probably not published who received which amount, right?
Can you please repeat? I'm not sure I understood.
In the past projects, they are all listed, but I think it's not public who received which category, no?
Yeah, I think you can see it, but the
Great.
categories were different last time. But indeed, this is maybe a good
That would
idea
be
to
helpful.
check the
Yeah.
ones in the past and kind of see, okay, what was the scope and how much
Yeah.
they got. But also, no, this is not public, but many of them also had co-financing.
Yeah.
So it is also true that some came with their own income or like some national or like municipality that were also boosting up the project. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Then I see a couple of other questions in the chat. Where in the file sample should we provide the breakdown of the budgeted cost? It's this part. We don't need anything else. We just want the unit cost and the number of days or like unit. This is anything that we need. Nothing else. I understand that for you, you might need a little bit more of a calculation, but here, this is the only thing we're asking. Then we have a general question. If the project was created by an artist in a country outside eligible countries, but the main producer is French and we have 3 other touring partners in Belgium and Croatia, will this work? We just added a question about this in our FAQ, so I remind you to that. And the answer is yes, it is possible. But of course, this is a European funding scheme. So as for every project, you will be asked to explain why this is important for this specific funding scheme, or you're relating to the priorities. and so on. But the detailed answer is in the FAQ. Let's go back to the budget. Copyright fees refers, for example, to the fee of the director of the piece for licensing it, for displaying. Yes, it's exactly that. Again, this is just example of things that you have here. Also, very importantly, you don't need to fill up everything. Like if you don't have copyright fees, if you don't have subtitling fee or translation fees, you don't have to fill it. This is just examples that are there. Any restriction on co-funding? Can co-funding come from another EU program? This actually, for the EU program, there is a clause of non-eligibility in the sense that if you're having European funding for the same proposal, you're not eligible to apply for Perform Europe. So the EU funding itself, they sort of cancel each other. You can apply only to one. But the others, co-financing, there is no restrictions. Hello, may costs for translation of the play text into various languages be included? Yes, we have actually here in the fees, there is a translation one, so you're more than encouraged to do so. Another general question, does the choice of partner countries have an impact of the quality sample of the application? This really depends on the project. So yes and no, it really depends. We are encouraging applicants to think of bridging different regions in Europe, that yes, but it's not a requirement, it's just an encouragement. But again, it depends on your project. I see no other questions, so maybe let's see if I can. Perhaps the most interesting things to do is to look at how to do the top-ups. And again, this is just an example. So, and I mostly want to show you what happens if you're requesting too much. So let's say here we're not traveling, so we don't have remobility, but we do have accessibility support for 2 people for 3 presentations. And this is the total, we get 2,400. And then we want audience access to, let's say 3, and we're feeding. But let's imagine that these were actually 4. Give you an example. And as you see here, you have an X, which means that it is more than 5,000. And if you go back here to the summary, you also see here a no. So if we go back here and we put 3, we can see that this is okay here, and it's also okay here. But we have 10 minutes left, so do you have any other questions? I see one now. You mentioned the lump sum format for the grant, but the structure of the funding is in 3 phases. Yes, this is about how the funding is paid. Yes, this is exactly how it looks like. So you get 60% of the grant after signing the contract with us, 20% after we review the first reporting, which includes a narrative and a financial statement. And this is 1 month after your first presentation. And then the last 20% comes when Perform Europe as a project is over, so after March of 2028. And even more after the EU has approved our own reporting to them. So we're looking at summer of 2028. And on top of it, you need to submit to us another reporting similar to the first one, and also fill up an experience survey. And together with this last 20% is also when we're going to pay the top-ups. But I see Ivona has raised her hand, so please go
Yes,
ahead.
thank you. I have a additional question to my previous question. So let's imagine we are 2 companies touring to 3 different partners. Does each company need to do 3 presentations, or there is this minimum requirement that there has to be at least 1 touring company or piece and 3 presentations in 3 different countries?
So you are correct, I believe. So at least one of the 2 work needs to tour into 3 countries. The other one, could also tour just in 1 or just 2. But you need to make sure 1 is touring in 3 different locations, and that this is very understandable in your application.
Thank you.
And then I have Lydia. Please say a few words about the report, I guess the reporting. On this, it depends how much we calculate for the production manager. Yes, of course. We do encourage you to put some fees for the, let's say, the administration and the production, whoever is making the reporting. There's going to be both, let's say, the intermediate and the final stage. There's going to be a narrative report. So this is a written one that we ask you to tell us basically how the journey has been going. We have a set of questions. The narrative, the intermediate part is definitely shorter than the final one. One thing that we can maybe already share now is that there's going to be an emphasis on visual reporting also, so picture from each performances and each date, each presentation date. And then in terms of the financial reporting, this has changed also in the past because so all this reporting is based on our reporting to the EU. And we ask you for a financial statement signed. So we don't ask you to give a proof of each different cost. We just basically will ask you to fill up an Excel sheet that is going to be a comparison a little bit with the budget you have submitted. For the top up, we asking you some specific proof. Like for an example, for the green mobility, we ask you to give us the tickets that prove that green mobility has happened. So I encourage you to put cost for those. I know this is not too details, but it's because we are working at the current moment on how the details of the reporting will look like. I read the last question in the chat and then we go for questions. But no, this was answered, so we can go. Yes, this one. Do I understand well that that the tour should take place in one subsequent period? The company performs at our festival and travels to another location, and from there to the third festival. This is up to you. Again, you have these 11 months to tour. The way you're gonna do it is up to you. But I see Lydia has her hands raised.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
It just seems too good to be true. That's why I'm checking. You're not requiring us to prove every expense, I mean, contracts, invoices, all the different.
So
Sorry,
not
what
we
you just ask. Sorry, you're just
No, no, I
asking us
understand.
to visualize the actual spending.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Yes, that's what we ask. But although in your contract with us, we will ask you to keep every invoice and everything else for at least 3 years. So you need to have a record. It doesn't need to be submit to us a reporting stage unless we require to. We might ask you to, but on the general level, no. This is because the EU have changed the way we do the reporting to them, so it's the same for us. This is called lump sum based project.
Yeah.
It is this way.
And we sign that what we do is what we write is correct, right? It's that
basically, yes. But we always, we can always request to see an invoice if we have any doubts. So of course you need to have your proof.
And may I just ask the sums of A, B, and C? Sorry, we're in income. I mean in expenses. Yeah. How much may they differ between the submitted budget and the visualized actual expense at the end?
So we are in the process of filling up the contract, if I'm not mistaken, but my colleague correct me if I'm wrong. So I think if you have a 10% difference between the different lines, it will be okay. If you want to change, if you have a difference that it's higher than 10% in each of the different lines, we can talk about before and you can request an amendment.
Yes.
And
when you say,
yeah,
I'm sorry, when you say lines, do you mean any line?
A,
Like
B,
A, B,
yes.
C. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
what were you saying? Yes. Each
Yeah, and
subsection of the budget, yes.
wonderful. Okay, and within those sections, it's okay to change sums over 10%?
Yes.
Okay.
No, what do you mean?
Well, for example, if the flight costs are significantly higher and the car costs are significantly lower for some reason, is that okay? If
Yeah, if inside you're changing a little bit
Yeah.
the cost, it's fine. It's really about the total of, let's say, the travel and accommodation and subsistence line, so line B. So if there is
Yeah.
a big difference then between what line B was in the, let's say, in the budget and then what it is at the reporting stage, then yes, we might need to have a conversation prior and to make an amendment if needed. But this is all based on a conversation between us and you keeping us informed also. So
Super.
yeah,
Thank you very much.
I think we might have time for a last question. I see one in the chat. So this is from Ahmed. Arveda Belgium and Arveda Tunisia are two separately registered legal entities which separate the status and registration numbers, but they share the same name and note to the same founder. Can they count as two of the three required partners, meaning that we would only need one additional partner from a third eligible country? This is a very interesting question, Ahmed. And if you don't mind, maybe write us an email about and we will double check because I don't know what to tell you right now. So write us an email so we can double check. And then I have a last one. Is it possible within the touring structure to rent the technical equipment directly from a partner company that already owns the material needed for the performance instead of hiring to an external service? Yes, absolutely. So we, first of all, encourage you to, in general, to hire versus to buy unless it's extremely needed. And yes, of course, it's a conversation between you partners and understanding what are the resources that are on the table that you can use, if there are any costs attached to that, to the partner to do that, or if you have to go externally. But there is a section for this, if I'm not mistaken, in the production cost or even the preparation if you need them for before. So yeah, we have 1 minute. If you have one last burning question. But then I think we are done for today. Let me see. Yes. There was one last question. Is there a percentage limit of the budget that we can spend on material goods? Depends on what you mean by material goods. Write us an email with the explanation and we can come back to you. And I also encourage all of you to please check our FAQ page that is constantly updated with the frequent question that we get, and we update also the answer there. But I thank you so much for today. And one last thing, I will share my screen again and remind you of the next session that we're gonna have. Yes. So, we have the next help desk on the 11th of August, and this is the open help desk. You can bring your questions. There is not going to be a presentation. Again, you can find the recording of the presentation that we did before on our website. Then the 25th of August, there is no session. And then we're going to have the next one on the 8th of September, same time as today. And we're going to focus on the application form and eligibility requirement. And then, of course, at the end, there is time for any other question that you have. Last reminder, please join the newsletter, follow us on social media. And I thank you so much for joining us today.